Hello, and welcome to the Accent On podcast. I'm the host, Jay Alexander Poulton, and I have with me today a friend and also a client of mine, Dr. Hany Demian. Dr. Hany Demian is the founder and CEO of Presentia Healthcare in Canada and the CEO of BioSpine Institute in Florida. He's a leader in regenerative medicine and spine care, developing innovative, patient-focused treatments that blend technology, evidence-based therapy, and smart clinical design. His work focuses on improving outcomes, reducing long-term healthcare costs, and shaping the future of modern spine and musculoskeletal care. Not an easy word to say, musculoskeletal. Thank you for being here, Dr. Hany Demian.
Thanks a lot, Jay, for having me. I really appreciate it.
I just want to be honest with our listeners that you are also a client of mine under the other umbrella of mine, the Accent Coach. And I've been getting to know you over these past couple of months, and it's been great. You've made wonderful strides in that area, but I'm here to talk to you about something different. So let's get started on what you're working on outside of your voice, and let's talk about a little bit, how did you get into medicine? I think it's a fascinating journey. You've told me a little bit about it, but please tell me a little more.
I never thought I would end up in medicine, Jay. And I've said this story before, but it's really dear to my heart. How did I start that? Because I discovered a lot about myself that I didn't know before. So I always wanted to do business. I didn't want to be in medicine. I didn't want to have a boss whatsoever. So I decided, you know what? Let's do my own business. Little did I know, I was applying for business school in the American University in Cairo. And that day, a bomb went off. And I was just arriving, getting out the bus there with all the blood, all the victims, a lot of screams, and a lot of suffering. And the ambulance wasn't able to really reach out to everyone. So they needed help. So I jumped in and helped, not knowing that that would be my future. I helped as much as I can, patching people, helping them, finding their way out, helping people to get back home or get to the hospital. And I went home that day feeling very fulfilled. This feeling stayed with me till today, with every patient I helped. I ripped off my application to the business school, and I decided, you know what? I think medicine will be my way. So I applied for medical school and finished medical school in Egypt, knowing that the market is very saturated. I couldn't really see a future in Cairo. As I told you before, we probably have 5 physicians to every patient in Cairo. This is how dense our class was. So anyway, so I decided to move out. I get a fellowship in the United States, and another event, an incident. My mom had breast cancer in my last few years, so I decided to go into breast cancer surgery and reconstruction. And it was again fulfilling to me. But I couldn't get a job in the United States, so I had to move to Canada. Again, another incident that I met friends in there during my shopping spree in Canada, and they decided they advised me to stay. They told me exactly there's nothing for you to go back to Egypt, and I wanted to transfer the knowledge to my colleagues and the patient in Egypt, but I said there's nothing really to do in Egypt. It's going to take you years to build a career. And I decided to stay in Canada, and here we are today.
Isn't that funny how life works out that way? I think everybody can point out to those little moments in their lives and in their careers where one moment changed that direction of your life. For you, it was that traumatic moment of a bombing going off and changing your mind. Where would Dr. Hany Demian be if he had gone into the MBA today? I wonder where he would be.
It would
ever
be
think about that?
Yeah, you know what? I look at it, and when I went into business school in Harvard Business School, the first day they taught us about hope is not a plan. I totally agree. I agree that you cannot go in life without a plan. It's just really hard. But when some incidents, some messages as powerful as the ones that I got during those incidents, you're going to have to listen. It's really calling you to change and pivot. And whatever higher power you believe in is calling you to change direction. So just listen to it, pay attention to the clues, and as long as you're going in your direction with a plan, a flexible one, I think you'll find your way.
Yeah, sometimes the universe just ups and smacks you in the back of the head and says, "You need to go in this direction now." I think that was your
Yeah.
smack in the back of the head.
Yeah.
So I was watching you on the your Instagram feed, and I saw a funny little Instagram feed that you did of choosing your specialty. So you've been
Yeah.
through a couple of specialties that you told me. What made you get into the current one you're in now, and why didn't you stay in those other ones, perhaps?
When I got into breast cancer and breast reconstruction was totally for my mom. I wanted to find a cure. I wanted to help people as much as I can. And I wanted really to understand what happened. We've never had cancer in our family. She is the first in generations in her family to have breast cancer. We couldn't believe it. It really defeats the odds. All of a sudden, she's non-smoker, she's no drinker, and no risk factors that we studied in the medical books make sense at that time. So I decided to go further into that. And I loved it so much, right? But at one point, you're dealing with cancer patient. It's really heartbreaking all the time because you're not going to be able to save them all, right? When I moved to Canada, I jumped into emergency medicine, and I loved it so much. I like the adrenaline, I like saving lives, but it wasn't fulfilling not knowing what happened to the patient after. I
Mm.
remember this patient walking into the ER in um, Nova Scotia, and this patient had an axe in her head, and she
Ooh,
was
Jesus.
walking and talking to me. And she was asking me to go out for a smoke. This is how funny it was. So it wasn't always like crying and heartbreaking stories, but it just you listen to that and you see that stories and said, I wonder what happened to that patient. How much pain, how much brain trauma she got through, right? And you'll never be able to know because it's
No.
only one visit, right?
Yeah. You treat them and then they go off to the next
I
visit,
just
the
put her
next
on the
doctor.
stretcher and called the surgeon. I said, please have this patient before she run away, right? It
She
was.
wanted a cigarette
Yeah, she
with an
did.
axe in her.
She did.
I have so many questions about the axe in the head right
All
now.
right. It was a funny story. Her son was drunk and she wouldn't stop talking. So he hit her with an axe.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
So the EMT arrived at the scene and they just wrapped her. Don't touch the axe, don't touch a knife. And they brought her to the ER, and she wanted so bad to go for a smoke.
I would need a smoke after that. I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
It
Oh my
was just
gosh.
one of the weirdest stories ever. And you don't get to know what happened to that patient. And it really
Mm.
affected me. I just was so nosy to be able to dig in and understand what would happen to the patient after you save their life. You have a heart attack, a patient has a heart attack, patient, and the code blue. We work on the patient, you save them, you send them upstairs, and you never hear back from this patient. Let me tell you another story.
Sure.
It's one of the funniest story in my career. Right, I was in a small province, Prince Edward Island, and it was at the end of the shift. I was in a day shift, so I was at the end of the shift, and then it came a sick patient came by ambulance. Me and a bunch of nurses worked on her, and then we pronounced her dead. Right. And I
Boy.
honestly don't just do that lightly because I take that very seriously. So I put the ultrasound on her heart because that was one of the skills um, I got into the ER. And there was no activity, not even quivering of the heart. So you pronounce the patient dead, pull all the IVs, put her in a room until the hospitalist or whoever is going to come in the morning to look after her.
Hmm.
I woke like I left the shift, handed over just briefly. I had a patient, and telling to the other doctor, I had a patient, she passed away, she's in the room, you don't need to do anything. Just in the morning, I will look after her,
Hmm.
right? I was walking in, like I was walking at 8 o'clock in the morning in the ER, and she was sitting having breakfast.
What happened to her? The heart
And
just said
we
no. The heart just said, I'm coming back.
never, she just woke up in the middle of the night asking for water. It's not like
Wow.
that.
And
There's no answer. You can't follow this patient because after you discharge them, you're not allowed to look in the charts, right?
yeah.
And we've never, I looked at the nurse and said, don't ask me. She woke up in the middle of the night
Wow.
asking for water. And so this pushed me towards something that I really would like to follow the patient journey. Chronic
Mhm.
pain was the dearest to my heart, right? I've seen a lot of patients with chronic pain not knowing what happened to them after you discharge them from the ER. So I decided, let's do chronic pain. I went into fellowship. I pushed really hard. I attended any course in the US or Canada and in Europe. I gathered all the information and started my journey, and I loved it. Then I met my partner, and we started doing and building clinics in our own new vision where we can actually bring the patient through this journey to reach their potential.
So let's talk about pain, because pain is an interesting subject. For a lot of people out there, pain is something that they have a lot of time, a hard time describing to a lot of doctors and are not believed very often. I'm sure a lot of people out there have heard it's in your head, there's nothing wrong with you. Is that where you come in terms of pain and pain management? Tell me about pain. What is pain?
Pain is a symptom, is a mechanism that the body defend itself. It's the warning sign. It's the siren that the body tell you that you are hurting yourself. Stop. Whether you're lifting something heavy, hurting your back, it will tell you stop because you're hurting your back. Or you put your finger on fire, or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, that will hurt and will tell your body, tell your brain, please stop. Right? So it's a warning symptom, warning signal, right? And we all notice that, especially after a dentist. When you go to a dentist
Mm,
and they numb your mouth and you decide to eat a burger or chew on something, you probably will chew your tongue, right? Because you can't feel pain. I've seen
yep.
it a lot, Jay, and it is terrible. So pain started like that, but unfortunately, due to a lot of stimulus, due to a lot of stress, nutrition, sleep, whatever we are facing these days, it became a condition on its own, chronic pain.
Mhm.
Health Canada and the FDA announced that pain on its own, that was like 6 or 7 years ago, pain on its own can be a condition. All of a sudden, you develop pain in multiple organs, pain of no origin whatsoever, and without stimulus, right? Without
Mhm.
an insult to your body, which like fire or injury, you can develop pain like fibromyalgia and other symptoms like that.
So
Unfortunately,
they're
it's very
classifying that.
it
That's
is.
interesting.
It
So
is
they're classifying because of the stresses of the environment, the stresses of jobs, life, modern life is
all the
causing
sudden.
these things to come up.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. I
It's
never.
very well documented now that people can develop pain, not in their head,
Mhm.
but actually physical pain, tenderness, and something called allodynia, which is sore to touch everywhere. And it's not in
Wow.
their head; they're actually in pain.
So do this is my big question for you as the specialist in this area. I've worked with doctors for a long time in my career in communications, and I know that what would you tell those other doctors that are the front line of patient care, maybe like family doctors? What would you tell them about pain? Because a lot of people get the question, oh, are you really feeling pain? Is this just in your head? Is this something related to others? And they maybe go through a lot of different testing before they finally go, oh, wait, maybe I need to see you. What would you tell those doctors? What's that one biggest misconception about pain you would love to debunk?
Pain doesn't start in the brain. Pain is physical and then becomes mental. or psychological. It affects psychology significantly, right?
Mhm.
So I would tell them, please dive deeper. Take your time, take your history, do your physical exam, and do your tests before just saying it is mental or it's psychological. Very few cases that I've seen in my 20 years career that started in their head or they were trying to gain something behind that. I've given the time to patient and sure enough did my homework and find the reason for their pain.
Mm. So for them, is there a pattern between this emotional stress and physical pain?
Um, Emotional stress will cause something called oxidative stress. Right now, we are looking deeply into the cells, Jay. So I know it's a little bit heavy, but let me walk you through it. So emotional stress, lack of sleep, will cause something called oxidative stress.
Hmm.
Oxidative stress put the cell, the mitochondria, under huge stress to break down and age significantly faster than others. So if you have more stress than me and we are the same age, your cells are breaking down faster than. It's very well documented now. This oxidative stress will put your cells maybe up to 10 years older than mine, right? And then you will start breaking down, causing inflammation, causing arthritis, degenerative disc disease, neuritis, and all kinds of conditions related to this. So it can start it, mental condition can start it, but it will end up physical. It will end up having an effect that you really can measure now and fix and probably reverse.
I have long believed that my entire life, that stress does cause those things. I lost my father to brain cancer a long time ago, just came out of nowhere. And he was very stressed near the end of his life because of his work. And I think that's partly what caused that was his immune system was down and then something got in there and caused that sort of thing. Very unlucky, and it just came out of nowhere. But that was, I think, one of the reasons why we say to this day in the family, like stress kills. Stress kills you.
It does. That's why I think right now we got an answer to people that get lung cancer and they've never smoked in their life.
Mm.
It's exactly the same. It's oxidative stress. And we're trying hard, really hard now to try to help people get through this oxidative stress. It's one of the main items that we address significantly in our anti-aging and regenerative clinics.
So, how do you treat pain? Are you part psychologist, also part doctor? Tell me about how, like, someone comes to your clinic and says, I know you've just been through shoulder surgery, and how if I come in and I say I've dislocated my shoulder, what would you do for me that I've separated my shoulder many many years ago, and I've always had this little bit of pain in my shoulder? How do you treat that sort of thing?
I do it and approach it differently. And I know probably have few doctors listening, but I will know Jay more, right? Are you left-handed or right-handed? What would you like to do with this shoulder? Are you planning to lift weights? You have young kids. What jobs do you want to do? Right in your age, what are your activities and what you want to do in 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years from now? Then we're going to look at it, right? We're going to examine, we're going to dive deeper in your history, general health first. Are you active? Are you not? Sleep and all this. So I really like to dive deep into this because I'm not only treating your shoulder, I'm treating Jay himself. So
Hmm.
I look into this and then I will do my investigations, whether it's X-ray, ultrasound, or an MRI, and then we'll look into it. Right? If it's only a sprain, I usually recommend PRP or stem cells. I don't like pushing the patient to a cortisone shot or something, just a quick win anymore. If the patient wants that, we've got physicians in our clinics that will patch it. I personally don't like it anymore. I like to have long-term solution. I learned that a while ago. I trying to develop the mentality of not chronic pain management, chronic pain treatment. If you have the
Hmm.
shoulder and it's been sore for a while, why can't we treat it once and for all, right?
Hmm.
And then we go through rehab, we go do the PRP, but I will look into your blood first. So I will ask you to have a blood work. What's
Hmm.
the ingredients in your blood? Are you lacking iron? Is the iron is low? What about potassium? What about platelets? How thin is your blood? Right? I look really closely into this because people do a PRP different ways and it doesn't work. And the patient will come. I said, I've done it. I paid so much and it didn't work. Yeah, but your blood is not really prepped for that. And
Okay.
I will probably ask you to try some peptides before, get the pain over, and get the peptides in your system. So when we pull the blood out of your veins, it will be really rich, right? And
Hmm.
if we have that, we will get a good quality PRP. And then we inject it and we ask you to do some physiotherapy, and that's it. But I wouldn't only treat the shoulder just as a shoulder.
So I think this is a refreshing look at taking care of a patient that not a lot of Canadians and Americans are rather used to. It's they're treating a one thing, take a pill and walk out the door, not looking at the holistic picture of that particular patient, including their blood work. It's really hard to get a doctor to give you blood work and tick off all those boxes on the sheet that you can get all those different parts checked. Having kids and going through our own healthcare journey here as well, it's the same thing. So I think that's a novel way, and it to me it shouldn't be, and maybe that's why I find it so interesting that you take that look at the whole patient. Because I have my mother-in-law who has knee problems, and I've told you about her before, where she's getting cortisone injections from her doctor, and it solves the problem for a little bit.
Quick
But
win.
again, 6 months later, she's got to go back, and it's increasing her idea of feeling old. I think is that it's not a fixing solution. And so, do you find when those patients come in that have had all of those treatments, what is their reception to you and your version of treatment?
I have patient that comes to me and they fight, Jay. I had this young patient. She went to an orthopedic surgeon and she had tendinosis in her biceps. And she was right handed, I remember. And her boyfriend came with her, really young, thinking early 20s. I said, my orthopedic surgeon sent me over here for you to give a cortisone shot. I don't know why, but it didn't sit well with me, right? And I said, why he didn't do it himself? I don't know. I said, if he is an orthopedic surgeon and he wants a cortisone shot, wouldn't take him 3 seconds to do it, right? Why is he sending her? I said, I wouldn't do that. And her boyfriend was fighting with me. Why? But this orthopedic surgeon, he knows more than you. I said, I appreciate that, but I wouldn't do it. I'm telling you, if I put a cortisone in this biceps tendon, it will rupture.
Mm-hmm.
It will rupture, whether it's inside, whether it's around, it will rupture. I will not do it. You want to do that? I am happy to send you back. But what's your advice? So after she calmed down, she said, what's your advice? PRP, right? After the second PRP, she's playing tennis. She's having her life back. We did an ultrasound and the tendinosis is gone, right?
Wow.
So a lot of patients will accept. Some patient will not accept. And they think that we are after the fees and after this and that. Has nothing to do, right? I know PRP is brand new. Stem cells is like are even newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the future.
So let's
It's
talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about explain to those that don't know, what is PRP and how do you use that in your treatment regimen, and also the peptides. I'd love to talk about peptides. That's a lot in the news lately, and
yeah,
it's all on the podcast circuit. Everybody's talking about peptides. There's peptide companies selling you powders and peptides.
yeah,
I'd love to talk about that a little bit. So
yeah.
PRP,
So
let's start with that one.
so PRP came a long way. It's not something new, Jay.
What's it
Old
stand
Egyptian
for those that don't know?
platelet rich plasma.
Okay.
Platelet rich plasma. So what it does, we take your blood, we spin it, we get rid of all the ingredients except the plasma and the platelets. Once you get the platelets in, it calls in all the healing power of the body. We'll tell the body, please come here, and all the healing proteins will come to that injured area and will start forming networks, right, to trap to filter all the growth factors in your system to that area. So blood circulates, right, and they will form really like network, like a fishing net inside that area that's injected, and all the blood circulate, and it will trap all the healing proteins and signal proteins and growth factors in this area, telling them, please come here and let's work on this area. Number one, it reduces inflammation significantly in this area, because all this circulation, you feel heat after the PRP is injected, which is increased circulation, increased cells in this area. So it will reduce inflammation. It will improve circulation because it will help forming new blood vessels, angiogenesis, and it will reduce pain because it calms down the nerves in this area. That's platelet in its nutshell. It developed over the years. Now, when you get PRP, you got to look into where are you injecting them, because all the cells are good for tendons and muscles. They're not good for joints. So we actually remove the platelet for the joints, and we call it platelet poor plasma. So we don't want.
Okay, so the joints get a different approach.
Yes, we don't need this inflammation in the joint. We just need the healing factors without the inflammation that the platelet cause, right? Initially. So it's called platelet poor. And the more cells you get in the PRP, the better. It makes sense. So right now, there are PRP that claims having billions of cells aggregated in a small tube, 20 cc, right, from your blood, which I've tried it. It's magnificent. It's really unbelievable to do it. Stem cells are different. We take stem cells from your fat cells, from bone marrow, or right now we can get it from cadaver. So we get it from umbilical cord, amniotic fluid. I'm still weary about amniotic fluid and umbilical cord because I tried it a few times and they arrived dead. So I call them dead on scene, right? They're not really stored well. Maybe
no good shelf life.
Maybe in the near future they will do it better, but I haven't had any success. I believe in your own stem cells, whether from the bone marrow or from the fat cells. So these are
using your own body to heal yourself.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay, interesting.
One third component that we cannot ignore is called exosomes that we add to PRP and stem cells now. Exosomes are empty cells. They're empty.
Okay.
They have nothing in it. They circulate in the body, and they send signals to all the cells and organs. We have a problem in this organ. Please do your job. So instead of filtering all the components, it actually circulates to your system and tell them, any cell that can help, please go there and help us fix this problem. So exosomes are redundant in our system, but we need more. So they usually come into a vial or an external source that will go in and put the cells of your organs on a notice.
Okay, so like a little soldier telling everybody, hey, wake up?
Yes, signal cells. Peptides are totally different. The main thing that people don't understand, that we've got peptides in our body. We've got peptides into the gastric juice. We've got peptides. Some of our hormones are peptides, like insulin and growth hormone. They are peptides. So we've got peptides. And one of the most commonly used medicine now in the world, like Ozempic, is a peptide. What is a peptide? FDA came one day and said, you know what, guys, you're all talking about peptides. I know they're amino acids. We used to call them amino acids initially. Activators, I think, was one of the first names. But no, let's call them peptide, and let's differentiate between them and proteins. Proteins are 40 molecules and up.
Mm-hmm.
Peptides are less than 40 uh, molecules. They are 15, 16, 17 amino acids attached together by a peptide bond, right? Something that we've all heard about, like BPC 157, body protective compound. It's
Mm-hmm.
15 amino acids attached together by 7 peptide bonds, right? And what is it? Why they call it the Wolverine? It goes inside your cell, telling
Mm-hmm.
the mitochondria, wake up. We've got a problem. And peptides are the only molecule that we know now in our medical tools that can talk to the inside of the cell. All the medication that pharma created over the years
Mm-hmm.
can affect the cell from outside. They attach themselves to the outside of the cell. None of those pharmaceutical medication compounds can
Mm-hmm.
go inside. Peptides are the only molecule that go inside and fix the mitochondria. So we've got some of them for inflammation. We've got some of them for DNA fixing. We got some of them for nerve fixing and anxiety, depression, cholesterol, and keeps going on and
It
on.
sounds like a supermarket of peptides that you can get for any kind of problem.
It seems like an alternate world
Yeah,
of medicine.
it does. And it's a little bit of a foreign concept to a lot of people that it sounds like the old school amino acids and every influencer is selling these powders now with peptides in that. Is that a thing, or is there a medical grade of peptides that are the thing that will make that change in your body, or is it any old peptide for any old thing will help you?
Peptides are very small molecule, but it's very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So getting them from unknown source, you will never know what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really finicky. So you cannot mix them together. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot inject them together, not at the same site. So if you're injecting them in one side of your body, you have to inject the other one because you got to stack few at a time that you're taking. You cannot inject them at the same site. You cannot use the same syringe. So even if you're getting something non-medical, which a lot of people advocate now, getting it non-medical or online or underground, like they call it, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
suggest. You got to get the medical grade. You got to get the
Okay,
medical
so
grade. You got to know where it is coming from. Otherwise, you don't know what you're taking. And once that happened, you don't actually know what effect you're getting.
yeah, you're just putting in this soup of stuff into your body that might
Yeah.
react in a different way depending on your individual makeup of your body.
Yeah.
Because peptides, it sounds like it's an individual thing. It needs to be in consultation with somebody
Yeah.
to do that. And
Yeah.
this
And you
is
get it
such a
from
new
a
thing.
trusted source.
A trusted source. I think that's the issue for a lot of people. They're hearing a lot about these peptides. I have lots of questions. I've spoken about you with a couple of family members, and they're like, "Ooh, I want some peptides. Give me some peptides. I ache here, I ache there, I ache there." So, what do I tell her about where to get those sorts of things?
There are a lot of clinics in Canada now are
Mm.
using some of the peptides. There are a lot in the States, and there are a lot in the States that are willing to ship them to Canada. So they
Okay.
can ship to Canada as well, but you gotta know where you're getting it from. There is, um, as I always say, nothing we introduce to our body without side effect. Everything has a side effect. You gotta know who's getting it, why they're getting it, what's the deal with it, and if
Mhm.
they have hidden cancers, no hidden cancers, would it affect them in a negative way? So I always say just consult with a doctor who knows what they're doing.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip because I think it's out there as this cure-all for stuff, and so the influencers are jumping hard on it.
Oh,
And so I know your history with the influencers.
I love it.
Please don't ever take an ice bath. I remember that one.
I love it.
Take a nice bath. Yeah. So I know your history with that one. So you got to watch out for what's out there. And so I thank you for telling us what is the actual real science behind thing. And I think that's part of your success is, the real, everything is backed by science, which I love. I'm not feeling well. You might be able to hear it. And I'm like going to go take my oil of oregano for that. And it's not backed by science. And so I appreciate that as someone with a scientific-ish background.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that sort of thing. So pain and getting old. Let's switch gears and talk about aging, because that's been on my mind a lot lately. I'm blessed with good genes, I think, and have wonderful skin for a 48-year-old man. So there's that factor in aging. My grandmother just passed away, a year or two ago at 97, and her aging was pretty good up until the last 6 to 8 months, and then she passed away after that. And so a lot of people, though, don't have that luck. So what is out there? What does aging mean nowadays, and how are we looking at that for the future?
It's a $1 billion question.
It is. Let's solve it and make lots of money.
It's $1 billion question. Let me start with why did I get into all this first. So during COVID, maybe a little bit before COVID, I like working out a lot. It cleared my mind, calmed me down. It put me into perspective, and it's some sort of a discipline for me. Wake up early, go to the gym, and then come back, start my day, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of, if I don't go to the gym, I don't know what to do with myself. Like literally, my days all over the map. So few months before COVID, I wasn't recovering properly. I get tired after the gym. I need a nap before going to work. Early in the morning, we're talking like 7:30 in the morning. I need a nap, right?
I've been there.
That's an early nap.
It's a great nap, though.
It is.
Yeah.
So, and then I wasn't really feeling it, right? I keep pushing myself, not getting results. So what is going on, right? Am I aging or I'm lacking something? Did all the blood work, did all the tests, thought I have sleep apnea, I didn't. Thought I'm developing fibromyalgia from a lot of stress in my life and at work. It wasn't, right? It was just my body's aging, right? And I had to respect my age. So I did refuse that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I refused it completely. And I decided to dig deeper into this. Tried every single post workout known to men. Didn't work, right? I even
tons of protein afterwards.
Yeah, I tried that. I tried some even PED, right? Performance enhancing drugs. We're not going to get into that for a few weeks. Did not work for me. Wouldn't relieve or wouldn't help me recover fast, right?
Yeah.
So I came across Joe Rogan, and at that time it was Liver King, right?
Yep.
And I just really dig deeper and see what are those people using. And Joe Rogan openly talked about it in a podcast that he's only using BPC 157. Never heard of it. Let me look into this. And sure enough, I ordered online. It was a new company in Canada selling it in a capsule form. I said, I'll try it. After 90 days, I was a different person.
And that's the peptide, right?
That's a peptide. That's Body Protective Compound 157. It was a life-changing experience. I had no pain, not only in the muscles and the joints, in knees, back, everywhere. I was just like a new person. I was working out exactly like I was in my 20s.
Wow.
It was life-changing. Then,
and you still take it to this day?
Never stopped.
Never stopped. Okay.
Never stopped. I stopped 2 weeks before the surgery, and the surgeon asked me to stop for 2 weeks after as well, but that was it.
Okay.
That was it. He didn't want the anti-inflammatory effect of BPC. You know how strong it is? He said, I want inflammation in the joint after the surgery. I wanted the meat to stick to the bone. I said, okay, let it stick.
Yeah, so you need that inflammation to
Mm,
allow the blood to flow to go and heal the area.
yeah. So never stopped since 2019, 2020. And I
Mm,
added TB after that. Shortly, like a year after, I added thymosin beta 500. And I decided that this has become a mission to help others. I prescribed it for my sister who had joint pain. She's been on it now for 4 years. My mom, who's got osteoarthritis in her knees. So I looked at it. I said, "Man, that's unbelievable." By that time, peptides start to take off a lot, from
mm-mm,
just gym supplement to really an alternative way of doing medicine, of practicing medicine. So I started looking into it and experimenting on myself with others,
mhm.
right? About GHK, copper for skin and hair. Unbelievable results. I did,
Really?
yeah.
Really? Not that unbelievable.
So it took me a while to dive deeper into it because it is segmented in our medical words. So Canadian, we don't get much information about peptide. In the US, it's a little bit more. But you go outside to Europe and you go outside to Middle East, you really hear more about it, and advance is unbelievable, right? So
Mm,
going back to your question about aging, I believe deeply in my heart in the next 5 years, we will change our vision about aging to it's a condition that it could be prevented, treated, or stopped. And
very interesting.
this is in the very near future. It's actually going to be one of my core lectures next year, and it will have chapters in my book coming up next year. That aging, I believe that aging that will be the real secret for youth and defying aging. We don't need to age. We don't need our body to break down organs, heart. We're fixing kidneys now, right? We're
Mhm.
reversing people that are on dialysis. And when I say we, I believe like the community of anti-aging and regenerative medicine. We had a patient that had a stem cell infusion um, in one of our clinics in Orlando, and his ejection fraction was 15, and it became 35 after one injection. And this is documented. I have
Is
one
that
of
a good
our.
number?
It's an amazing number. If I tell you that I consider
Okay.
myself healthy, and I'm at 57,
Mhm.
and that's a top number. Like
Okay.
that's in the top 10% population. Most people are running around 50, 51. So 35 for somebody who has congestive heart failure is a number, right?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
That's interesting
so
for the future. I have someone else as a client of mine in an interesting space that is interesting that could impact what you're talking about for the future of aging is AI. That's a whole bag of stuff that we can get into and talk for another hour. But an interesting thing I heard the other day, instead of large language models looking at, language and putting together language in a variety of ways like the regular chat GPT, they're taking now AI models and training them on cells, on the stuff that builds up molecules and DNA. And those AI models are now looking into fixing a lot of those things. So you're going to see a crazy advance in the next couple of years in that area, just because AI can crunch the numbers and figure out things. I think I've already heard a couple of things about cancer that AI has already seen. So that's going to be an interesting one. I don't have a comment from you. I'm just saying that's one thing I continually hear, and it's an interesting area that we're headed into.
it is. And let me tell you what we're working on, right? So we are working on one of the wearables, uh, like Whoop and Aura and Apple, to collect all the data from there about sleep, heart, breathing, temperature, and we will be able, through AI and the data, to predict your age more accurately, to predict if you're getting sick, to predict cancers because it will change your blood flow, it will change your breathing, right? But the more data we're getting, we'll be able to really treat aging through that. And it's all through normal sensors. You wear it like Whoop, or that will check,
Like
will
that.
check your sleep, will check your breathing during sleep, your heart rate, your resting heart rate, your stress levels, and it will translate this into an information that put together, it will predict what conditions you might develop in the future. So by changing habits, we're hoping to change the condition in the future.
So you said something interesting. Blood flow and heart rate can be a predictor of cancer?
Yes,
Really?
it
I
does.
had no idea.
It
How does that
does.
happen? How does that change blood flow? Patterns in blood flow and heart rate, or
The blood flow itself, usually cancer cells divide in a fast sequence, right? To do that, they create more blood vessels, so it increases angiogenesis. And when that happens, those area needs more blood flow. So it takes the blood somewhere else. So if I'm developing cancer in my prostate, right?
Mhm.
For the prostate to grow and to grow cancer cells, it has to multiply the cell, divide and multiply significantly faster. It will multiply significantly and will need more blood vessels, more blood flow. It will take this blood flow either from my bladder or my kidneys, right?
Okay.
So you will check the blood flow in other areas and you will see that it's reduced, not our human naked eye can notice, but AI will be able to notice and will tell you there is something developing in this area years ahead
Wow.
of that. Yeah. It will be
Years
able,
away.
we're hoping to be able to predict. There's another research, they're able to predict menopause 5 years ahead,
Oh,
5 years
interesting.
ahead before any symptom.
Just through the use of, say, one of these
Yeah.
things on your wrist that hasn't been yet developed, but all the technology is there. It just has to be put into the right package.
Yeah. We've got the
Very interesting.
we've got the data. We just need to be able to collect the data on a 24/7 base through a wearable.
Through a wearable. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff for the future. Part of the reason I want to do this podcast is to talk to a lot of folks like you, because I've seen there's a lot of interesting ideas out there that are converging. I talked to a doctor. I talked to a guy in AI. I talked to a guy who sells bicycles. It's all these things are converging in a way with technology nowadays that they're all very interrelated. So you're expert on pain and that sort of thing, and I have another client who's an expert in AI, and those things are converging now in a very, very interesting way. So the future is very interesting and not as dark as a lot of people make it out to be.
Yes.
So
Yes. We talked
you
about
have hope for that.
my TED conference earlier this year was so dark about AI that I felt, for some reason, I felt like confused. Are we damaging our own future? They talked about AI taking over parenting, taking
Mm,
over your office, taking over our jobs. I really don't think so. I think AI will be a nice tool that we're going to use. It would be like my stethoscope. It would be like a
yeah.
microscope, right? AI now reading radiology reports way better than radiologists because they've
Mm,
got the eye to recognize patterns that radiologists can miss. So it's more accurate, but it will never give you the background that say, you know what, I think clinical correlation could reveal that this is not cancer. It could be just a benign tumor. Do
mm.
something different. I think this will be always missing from AI. It will never
Yeah,
be
the
like,
humanity of it all. That's the people have said, Jay, are you going to be an accent coach for the rest of your life with AI and apps that teach you how to do that? And I said, yeah, I'll always have a job because people want the interaction. People need that sort of interaction. We learn from each other. And AI is going to be that enhancer that enhances everything. but I think the fear will die down. I mean, AI does have some major environmental problems that go along with AI and the data centers that go along with that sort of thing. But the possibilities are just exponential in what it can do in terms of human health and society for the good. It can also do a lot of bad, but it can also do a lot
Yes.
of good.
Yes. I'm sure there are people that will use it for bad, but the good out of it is just unbelievable. And a lot of people in the market now, they're really scared of it. But it will be something else like internet. When internet didn't take away our jobs, didn't take away the banking, like they said, right? Data centers, it will always be there, right?
Hmm.
It will just change. It will evolve.
Yeah. I think once everybody calms down, once the boom is over, once
Yeah.
the crazy stuff is ending, I think we'll all get back to normal.
Yeah.
I think we'll all get back to normal. So, Dr. Demian, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. I'd love to have you back sometime to continue our conversation about stuff. We've always got interesting things to say, but I thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to leave us with?
I really enjoyed it, Jay. It's really important. Um, I want to highlight the work that we've done together. I wouldn't have been able to master my tongue like Jordan Peterson say without your help. When we start working together, I listened to my first recording and I didn't know how I get so far in life. Look at that now, right? I went out to my wife. It was a funny story, but it's true. I told my wife, "How did was able to score somebody like yourself with that kind of accent?" So anyway, you've done a great job. This podcast is really dear to my heart, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. The power of the voice can change a lot, and that's my mission in life, is to teach people that you're not bound, and you can learn to control this wonderful instrument that we have been graced with, and it is a tool, just like AI, just like anything else out there. It is a tool, and you can learn to use it. So I do appreciate that, and you've learned to use it very well.
Thank you so much.
Surgery.
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 Evolve.
All right, Dr. Hany Demian, thank you very much for being on the Accent On podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Take care.